the whole section we're talking about now is the complexity, the nuances, ownership, but change requires capital investment, right? There'd be no drugs to give to people if there wasn't people taking risk with capital investment. The same thing with this new information age. I mean, Google is a private company, right? It was started by venture capitalists. So venture capitalists have an expected rate of return on their investment. That's how our whole system works. So how do we maintain the integrity of the patient's right to their own information, which is absolute? Anyone disagreeing with that is crazy. But at the same time, have an environment where people are actually willing, before, this is to you, before you said, you support private industry, but private industry won't go here, won't make the investment if all of a sudden their trade secrets, their ability to monetize their creation and get the return on investment evaporates. So how do we thread this needle?
Private companies make money off of the opportunity to monetize investment. Usually we think of monetizing their investment in a short period of time, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if the invention is patentable. But business practices based on information may not enjoy the same protection that making a product such as a pill will enjoy. And that's just the reality. So there are a lot of pathway type programs right now that are getting investments and building infrastructure out right now. That's a business practice. We should expect those business practices to make some return on their investment, but others will enter the market and they will compete down to marginal cost. I don't think that we're going to see the government choosing winners and losers over pathways type companies right now. I think that we're really, there's a lot of move to let providers choose their own systems, but also for insurers to use their own systems. And nor should investors or insurers or providers be thinking that their revenue stream for the next 20 years is going to be based on exploiting all of the information that they have. A lot of that information is going to get old. They need investment and to make it actionable, and they may not be able to exploit that revenue stream forever.
So that dovetails to the last question of this section. So with all of that being said, we know that most hospitals in America, not all, but most hospitals in America work on an operating margin of under 2%, right? And we know that community oncology practices, because we're talking about them, many of them are now starting to approach going underwater, and they're closing their doors. This is reality. They're closing their doors and they're handing their keys over to the local hospitals, which are operating at a margin of 1%. And now, somewhere money has to come in to invest in all of this infrastructure to move us from fee-for-service to value. So it appears as if the logic flow is broken. And so, I'd like you each to comment on your point of view of if there's no ability to maintain and build on business practice margins, as you've articulated, and there is a growing divide based on regulation, which we didn't bring up, between what pharmaceutical companies who have very large margins can do and support, because they can't anymore because of all the conflicts of interest and everything else. The fact that the government, our national debt is becoming, is now at historic proportions. Where's this money going to come from to infuse into here if it's not equity investment from the private market? Where's the money going to come from? So I'll start with you.
So two things. One is the way that a lot of the alternative payment models are being set up are for an upfront per member per month, with the idea that a portion of that will be invested in a variety of activities required for success. So hiring more people, some technology investments, training, other things like that. But albeit, as you mentioned, that's still not a large sum. and it's coming already from a small pie. And so what that does secondarily is it creates the need to provide very valuable technologies at affordable prices to the users. And so Google that you brought up is a great example. Gmail, I don't pay for my Gmail, I don't pay for Googling it, but it's providing a lot of value, and therefore is being used very widely. However, they also have alternative business models to supplement that and be able to provide those services at a cost that our individual users can bear. But the other piece being just technological innovation in general, being able to bring that cost down. So previously hospitals would have to buy servers and have a room for the server and someone to watch the server and someone to watch the person watching the server and all of these things. And now we have cloud-based technology and brings that unit cost for the individual down. And so those types of things as well are going to be very important in this confined resources that we have for healthcare.